Are people done with the critics? Despite this, despite the 39% Rotten Tomatoes that, of course, the mainstream media will use as, oh, it's one of the worst movies ever. As you know, an official ranking, because of course the mainstream media will never listen to the fans, or never allow the writers to voice their own opinions on the movie. They'll say, oh yeah, Rotten Tomatoes is the only source, and of course the mainstream media will of course continue trusting Rotten Tomatoes, but I'll tell you why Uncharted is more proof that people don't trust Rotten Tomatoes. Okay? Over the past couple of years, 2020, 2021, 2019, and even in 2018, like, yes, he had those action movies that did well despite of Rotten Tomatoes, those, and despite of course, Rotten Tomatoes giving it a negative score, with again, the Phantom when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes are hypocrites because they'll praise Rotten Tomatoes for not giving, Eternals good scores. With again, the Eternals probably is a horrible movie, so it deserves that low score. But then, of course, they'll complain with movies that they like get low scores. But again, Rotten Tomatoes is an establishment site. Basically, a Hollywood establishment site is basically the entire Hollywood establishment judging a movie. The mainstream media, the Hollywood establishment, okay, they will give movies bad scores for ridiculous reasons, okay? For example, Peppermint, okay? Which the movie actually did okay at the box office, but this movie apparently is one of the worst movies of the year. Why? Because it's racist. That's the whole thing there. Same thing of Rambo 5 and same thing of other future movies. They will judge movies based off of Twitter, based off, how Twitter rates the movies. Like, it's absolutely hilarious, okay? And they'll complain about movies being too much action, like Godzilla. They'll complain about, oh, there's too much monsters in Godzilla. Complain about movies for absolutely stupid reasons, okay? And with Godzilla, people still trusted the Rotten Tomatoes establishment. But there was one movie that released that really pissed people off. Of course, you all know this thing that exists, which has a 88% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. Everybody on the internet hated this movie. It has a 60% of audience score because, of course, there are going to be those sales that are going to give it good reviews. But, this movie, according to Rotten Tomatoes, is a masterpiece. I'll tell you movies that people that will consider. I'll show a couple movies that are considered quote unquote worse if you trust the Rotten Tomatoes establishment. Forrest Gump, which, as we all know, has a 70% and it isn't even certified fresh. Even though it's considered one of the greatest movies of all time, well, apparently one of the greatest movies of all time is apparently, according to the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, worse than Cuties, okay? Zack Snyder's Justice League is often considered one of the best superhero movies of 2021. Of course, because of Spider-Man No Way Home, well, it had 31%. Even though the audiences all agree it's one of the best movies of the year. Yeah. But the Rotten Tomatoes establishment decides that here it's worse than Cuties. Okay? Dune, which a lot of people consider one of the best movies of the year, well, apparently to the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, it is still worse than Cuties. Okay? This is why people don't like the Rotten Tomatoes establishment anymore. Okay? Because they cannot be trusted. Look at Alita Battle Angel, a movie that a lot of people who watched it actually did like it. Look at this is the Rotten Tomatoes establishmentarian score. And of course, it's only at 61% because of course, a lot of the rest establishment people reviewed the movie, quote unquote. But if you look at the top critics, which is basically the top of the top Rotten Tomatoes establishment, okay, I think I don't know if they have removed it, but, it was like 42% if you include only the top critics' reviews. Because, of course, the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, the quote-unquote film critics, said it was a really bad movie. The quote-unquote, even though, it's at 92% audience scores, it's much higher. And, of course, this was before they started manipulating the audience scores. Which, if you really want to go look at real audience score, real, actual scores, just go on, IMDb, or Letterboxd or Metacritic, because nobody's gonna trust after Captain Marvel. Nobody really trusts the Rotten Tomatoes score. Nobody trusts the audience scores of Rotten Tomatoes because Disney will flood their movies with bots. Like for example, Shang-Chi apparently having a 99%. I think it's it was at 98%. 98% of the entire population who watched Shang-Chi like the movie. Which again, it is a good movie, but even on IMDb, it's much lower than a 98%. It's even higher than movies like The Godfather and The Dark Knight. Okay, which I don't think many people are gonna say, "Oh yeah, Shang-Chi is better than The Dark Knight." Okay, but again, mostly because Disney will throw bots. They try to do this even with the Eternal score on IMDb. Disney put bots on the review, on the audience, on the average IMDb score and the Metacritic score to make it look like people actually like the Eternals. When in reality, literally nobody watched the movie and everybody hated the Eternals. Was this quite the opposite. With everybody did like Shang-Chi, everybody thought Shang-Chi, a lot of people, most all people actually thought Shang-Chi was a good movie. But again, according to the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, okay, according to the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, if you like Dune and call it a masterpiece, but if you don't like cuties, it basically means that you're stupid because it has a higher score. Because that's the main, and the sad thing is, in the mainstream media, we use the tomato meter, which of course is the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, as a means to rank movies. Okay, like if you look at the best anime movies of all time, like every video game movie ranked, or top superhero movies or top Marvel movies, they don't ever rank it by their opinion. Okay, they'll always rank it by, as I noticed, by Rotten Tomatoes score, or like every Pixar movie ranked. Okay, yes, there are some more opinion-based ones that you can look for, but a lot of them are based off, but what the critics say, or what Rotten Tomatoes says, okay? And we all know, I've known for a while that a lot of good movies have negative Rotten Tomatoes score, because Rotten Tomatoes establishment does not take movie, it's if there's 3 or 4 movies released a week, but the movies, they get to see the movies early and just an opinion on those movies. Okay, of course they also have to review TV shows as well from Netflix and stuff, which I think it's much more harder to review because it's longer. But some of the when people complained about you have an unpopular opinion, then you're stupid. But then of course you have the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, and we all know how political the Rotten Tomatoes establishment now, okay, when they give, movies that are, anywhere promoting right-wing ideas, they'll give it a really low score on Rotten Tomatoes. But of course they'll give AOC's movie 100%, but that's all political stuff. Which is absolutely proof that, Hollywood is liberal, which if you want any more proof of that. And I think something is coming. There are other companies trying to compete with Hollywood's dominance over movies. Okay? For example, Western animation is dying. Because, again, Western animation issues is not because of wokeness, it's because people just are sick of seeing the same fucking movie over and over and over again. Okay? We should have PG-13 animated movies and R-rated animated movies. But Hollywood, because they think, animated movies should be only made for little kids, not for older people. Which, I think Lightyear's gonna probably be one of those types of movies. We're gonna be trying to emulate live action movies with an animated feel almost kind of like a video game. Which I think this would turn Lightyear into a video game. I think Lightyear would fit as a video game. It looks more like a movie that would be like a video game. If you actually watch the trailer for Lightyear, it looks like a video game. Actually, it looks more like a video game than a movie. But yeah. I made my point about Rotten Tomatoes, Uncharted, Sonic, and all of these movies. There's lots of movies. I don't have to go over every single one. And look at the movies that the Rotten Tomatoes establishment promotes, okay? Booksmart, okay? This is a movie that I'm going to bring up alongside West Side Story, okay? According to Rotten Tomatoes, it's a complete masterpiece. It's a complete masterpiece. So this movie sort of made at least 100. It sort of made so much money at the box office. Okay, this movie sort of made so much money at the box office. It was such a complete masterpiece that everyone had to see it. That everybody had to watch it. If you look at the box office, it only made $25 million at the box office. When movies like Blockers and Good Boys made far much more money than Booksmart. But those movies, according to Rotten Tomatoes establishment, are worse than Booksmart. But despite it, those movies still made more money domestically than Booksmart. Which really goes to show you how out of touch Rotten Tomatoes is and how much pandering they do. When movies that people actually find money make far more money than the movie that Rotten Tomatoes establishment is pushing down your throats. Same thing of West Side Story, okay? Okay, West Side Story only made $44 million at the box office. Okay, that's the result to 2020. Yeah. The 2021 edition of West Side Story only made $67 million. And that's with the backing of Disney, that's with the backing of the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, and that's of course with the backing of Steven Spielberg. The movie still couldn't make back its money. Meanwhile, Ghostbusters Afterlife made back its money, Dune made back its money, and Dune is based off a book that was really popular that is really popular among sci-fi fans. Ghostbusters Afterlife made money, and Spider-Man No Way Home made money. And now even Uncharted is making money. And yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home was actually well reviewed by the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, which of course proves the Rotten Tomatoes establishment are hypocrites when they talk about, oh my god, how great the fan service in Spider-Man No Way Home is. But then they'll bitch and moan over Sonic. They'll bitch and moan over Sonic the Hedgehog and Ghostbusters Afterlife. Okay? Which, this is why I call them the Rotten Tomatoes establishment, because, again, they're paid sales by corporations. Okay? The fact that this movie and Ghostbusters Afterlife, okay, was both made by the same company, but both are well liked by both fandoms. The Spider-Man / Marvel fandom and the Ghostbusters fandom. But, of course, the Rotten Tomatoes establishment threw a tantrum over Ghostbusters Afterlife because it didn't link to the female Ghostbusters, or Sonic because it ruined the artist's vision, can show you the idiocracy or foolishness of Rotten Tomatoes establishment. Or, for example, they sit on Godzilla King of the Monsters for exactly listening to what they said and what the fans said. But then, the fans wanted more monsters, so the movie sucked. Basically, that's basically the Rotten Tomatoes establishment. Oh, people actually like Alita? Well, here's the reason why the movie sucks: because her eyes are too big, or she's too sexy, okay? Don't complain when people actually like a movie, okay? Actually like a movie. Which is more proof that Rotten Tomatoes establishment completely sucks. Goodbye.